In this video, I'm going to tell you about some easy ways to save money on Warhammer. Now, before we even get started, I know that you're right now starting to type a comment about how, well, the easiest way to save money on Warhammer is to not play Warhammer. I get it. I'm going to be making a video about that as well, but this video is going to be aimed towards the people that want to be playing Warhammer stuff, and they have some official reasons why they need to follow the actual models and all that and everything. But yeah, we'll talk about the other way to play other games and also save money in another video. Now, if you play Warhammer, and again, we're talking about 40K, Age of Sigmar, all the other ones, Kill Team, Warcry, all that kind of stuff. If you play at home with family or friends, you play maybe at a club that doesn't have any particular rules about this kind of thing. If you're just playing amongst friends and stuff like that in your garage, basement, hobby room, whatever, you can do whatever you want. You can proxy models from other systems. You can 3D print all kinds of stuff and say, okay, well, this big cool monster, this is a Carnifex. And so let's all just, as long as you and your opponent both know what's on the table, you can use whatever models you want. And that's really not what this video is about. But understand, if you're not interested in playing in official events, official tournaments, stuff like that, knock yourself out, use what you want to use. This video is for the folks who very frequently I see online saying, I want to get into playing, but the event, the tournament, my local store, etc., won't let me unless I actually buy Games Workshop stuff for Warhammer. At least in the United States, most Games Workshop stores don't have a lot of space to play. They may have a table. Every once in a while, they might have two. But for the most part, you don't generally play at Games Workshop stores. Some folks do, certainly. And when you play at Games Workshop stores, you need to be using their models. They'll be like, hey, dude, you can't use these army men, whatever, that kind of stuff. You're supposed to use their stuff. And it's their business, and you could choose to play there or not and whatever. So, this is understandable. But sometimes, even when you're playing at a friendly local game store, an FLGS, as it were, and they will very frequently, not always, but sometimes they will have policies that will be stuff like, hey, you need to be using, Games Workshop stuff in our Games Workshop tournament where we're giving away maybe Games Workshop prizes, that kind of stuff. Other times, and I've made a video about this in the past, it's just a situation of you should probably definitely, especially if you go there a lot, support your store. If you go to a store all the time, even if you play tournaments and you pay to play, those fees that you pay for the tournament, they don't really cover a lot of stuff. But if you show up to a tournament with a bunch of stuff that's 3D printed that you made at home to play in their tournament, a lot of GameStops or game stores will be like, yeah, that's not cool. If you're going to go play at a game store and you want to support the game store and you play at the game store a bunch, then you need to be buying some stuff. I'm not saying all of it, but you definitely need to be buying some stuff from your local store. So very frequently, these stores, especially the independent stores, the friendly local game stores, very frequently they give some sort of discount on Games Workshop stuff. Some of them don't, but some of them will give maybe 10%, maybe as high as 20% discount on Games Workshop stuff, which is going to be cheaper than obviously buying it directly from Games Workshop themselves. I would frankly tell you, honestly, if you can help it, try not to buy stuff direct from Games Workshop yourself. Number one, try to support your local game store. Again, like I said, especially if you go there frequently. The other thing is that they rarely ever run any kind of sales. Now, every once in a while, they will make some big collection box, which if you went through and counted each of the pieces separately, is actually cheaper than buying those pieces separately, But it only works if you actually want all that stuff, or maybe you and a friend want all that stuff. If the two of you want to go splitsies on some big new box, then great, you're probably going to save some money that way. And you can get that from your Games Workshop, I guess, but very possibly that exact same box might be cheaper at your friendly local game store if you have one around you. The other thing is a lot of friendly local game stores may not sell below retail, but a lot of them have some sort of rewards card or loyalty system or something like that, where if you buy, and they track it with their point of sale system, you buy up to $100 worth of stuff, then you maybe get $10 back on your next purchase, or 15 or whatever. That kind of stuff can be really important to not only help you save some money on actual regular old brand new stuff from Games Workshop, but it'll also help the store as well. Every once in a while, and I've done this in the past, if you're going to make a good size order from them, they might just give you a discount right off the bat. They may not have a loyalty program or anything like that, but if you go in and say, look, I'm going to order a bunch of stuff, and I'm not talking about 60 or 70 bucks. I'm like, I'm going to start a new army and I'm going to be dropping maybe $400 to start. Is there something we can do here? Some places will go along with you on that, but definitely think about your local store. And if it's a situation where it's like, yeah, but it's this new box and it's going to be limited, if you know about it ahead of time, talk to your local store. Very frequently, they can pre-order it, and you might even get a discount in that situation as well. Now, I mentioned about like making a big order and that kind of stuff from your local shop. Another tip, however, is start small and grow slowly. Don't if you think, hey, I'm going to get into this new army, or hey, I'm going to get into this new game, don't just go and drop a whole bunch of money all at once. Very frequently, it's a ton of fun if you've got the money to do it, to be like, boom, and you get this big style, stack of boxes, and you take pictures of it and you put it on Instagram or whatever, like, oh, new art. A lot of times, a lot of that stuff doesn't actually get built or painted. You've kind of set yourself in many situations up to fail because you've given yourself too big of a hill to climb right off the bat. It's super important in those situations to look at, like, I want to get into this particular army in Age of Sigmar. Okay, cool. Start by working on troops. If you are completely new to the hobby at all, I would tell you to not even buy models for the army that you're interested in. I'd tell you to go out and buy some models. Just find some stuff someplace, used stuff, eBay stuff. Even again, like I've said many times before, army men or whatever from the grocery store or the department store, and start practicing painting on them. But if you've been in this hobby for a little while and you're thinking about maybe a new army, or maybe this is the first time you're actually dipping your toe into Games Workshop, don't drop a ton of money on an army all at once. Figure out what you want to do and start working from there, because you might get 2 boxes in and decide you hate the look of this army, painting it, anything along those lines, and you don't want to be stuck with that stuff. Now also, you obviously don't have to buy brand new if you don't want to. You can buy used models. There's eBay, there's Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace has a tendency to be a little bit more local to where you are, that kind of stuff, and you can take looks on there. Craigslist sometimes. Bartertown, I think, is still kind of a thing, though that's generally more, you're going to be shipping back and forth like you do, with eBay. But also a lot of local independent stores also buy and sell used models. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them that are like, well, someone comes in and is like, I got to get rid of this army and I need, money, or I need credit because I'm going to switch to a new game or whatever. And so there are plenty of stores out there that, buy and sell in new models. I picked up a whole bunch of Mortec Guard from a store in Northern Illinois not too long ago, and it was a really good deal. I'm really looking forward to using some for Warcry, some for other games, stuff like that. They were already kind of painted. I'm going to make a video soon about how to take these models that are maybe kind of painted already, or well enough painted, and then kind of maybe touch them up and get them to the next level. But you can take these models very frequently, especially on eBay. They are built and have never been painted. This Chaos Lord on Big Lizard Dog guy that I've been painting on Twitch lately, I bought him on eBay because I tried to build him and failed. The dog part is really hard for me to build. I don't know why. And so I was like, I know there's going to be somebody out there who's built him and then never painted him, and decided, well, I'll shift him on eBay. And there you are. So very frequently, if you're looking for models, especially if you're looking for built but not painted, eBay is another good place for that too, but you're also going to find models there that are on the sprue. You're going to find stuff that's been painted, maybe okay, and again, like you can touch it up, like those Mortec Guards. Sometimes you're going to find stuff that just generally sort of sucks, but you can always strip the paint off and then start over from there. It's more work, certainly, especially if you're getting to that point where you're doing a lot of paint stripping and things like that. That can be a lot more work, but you can also generally save a whole bunch of money, unless they say that these models are pro-painted, then generally don't buy those. Unless they're actually painted by a pro, maybe. If you're looking at getting into a big army game, something that's not a skirmish, something that's, you've got your 40K, your Age of Sigmar, things like that specifically. I definitely for 40K, and I'm not 100% sure what Age of Sigmar, but definitely 40K, they've been really pushing Combat Patrol, which is a faction. It's a way you play the game with just 500 points, which is a good way to kind of get things going and get started. I've got pretty close to a finished Combat Patrol of Necrons from the Indomitus box that I just basically worked on, and it was real quick and easy. And it was It'll be 25 models, maybe max 23, something like that. And certain armies, Space Marines, for example, a combat patrol is even fewer. So you can get away with starting out and actually get to playing and not having to wait until you get everything done, but still start small. And again, maybe you determine this is not necessarily the way I want to go. Maybe you switch armies or whatever, but saving that money by starting small again. And again, if the army game that you're interested in doesn't have a small version, then maybe you have to talk to some friends and see about just ways to say, let's just play smaller and give it a try and see how it works. Another way to save money is to not waste a whole bunch of paint by redoing and redoing until you get what you're looking for. It's a really good idea to plan out, especially if you're playing an army game where everybody kind of has to look like they're in the same, force. You want to plan it out ahead. You want to know exactly what colors you're going to use so you're not ending up buying a lot of extra paints that you don't need. Figure that out, and I made a video a long time ago about how to figure that out without ever putting an actual brush in your hand. Pachow. And take that information, figure out exactly what you want, get the paints you want, but just the paints that you need, at least to start, and then you can start working on painting your forces from there. Planning ahead is always going to help you to not waste as much money and time very frequently as you paint your army. Games Workshop sells a lot of different basing material. A lot of companies do. A lot of basing materials are things that you can literally find on the ground, or maybe at the grocery store and things like that. Generally, you find kitty litter at the grocery store or pet store, not so much on the ground. But sand, dirt, other things like that, those things are all things that you can generally find, whether you got a backyard or there's a park nearby or anything like that. You bring like a little pill bottle or a bottle or something, and you just scoop up some stuff and let it dry out. And now you've got pretty good basing material. You can also use baking soda, which again, you're going to get from generally the grocery store. I talked about baking soda quite some time ago. Pachow. It makes a great basing material. And, there are certain things that are really, really hard to get, like little tiny flocked grass or little tiny leaves or things like that. Those things can sometimes be difficult to just find around on the ground. But a lot of the texture that you're interested in putting on the bases to make your people look like they're striding across a broken and horrible battlefield, those things are outside. You don't need to spend a bunch of extra money on it. The craft store can also be your friend, and very frequently, not always, but very frequently those things can be cheaper than they are at the hobby store, the gaming store. Cheap synthetic brushes. I've used cheap synthetic brushes for years and years and years. It's only recently that I've started using slightly nicer synthetic brushes, but inexpensive synthetic brushes have done me very, very well. Sam has used them for years as well for a good portion of the beginning parts of the paint job. Maybe they won't necessarily last for super long, but they're inexpensive. And then you can, you've got another one usually in the bag that you can go from. Also, cheap makeup brushes. I've talked about that as well. That's also a pro strat for making your models look really good. And again, we're talking about the grocery store, maybe the dollar store, that kind of stuff. Makeup brushes are the bomb. Pachow. So all of these different things. Craft paints from the craft store are great for terrain. All day. Craft paints are great for terrain. I'm going to spend the money on regular miniature paints for when I'm painting my miniatures, even if I'm not brand new to it. Even if I've been doing this, I've been doing it for quite a while, but even if I'm brand new, I'm still going to stick with the miniature paints. Again, plan your colors ahead, like I said previously, and you'll only buy as many as you want. And don't just buy Games Workshop. There are certain colors and certain things like contrast paints I'm a super huge fan of, so I'm going to buy those. Washes, I like their washes. But for a lot of other colors and things like that, you don't have to stick with one brand. You can easily mix and match, and it'll work just great. Playing games from Games Workshop is not the cheapest hobby out there. There are far more expensive hobbies as well, but this one's not necessarily the cheapest. That being said, there are plenty of ways that you can save money. So if you've got an idea that I didn't touch on, throw it down in the comments below. And if you're someone who's looking for a way to save some money and the stuff that I mentioned here doesn't necessarily resonate, take a look down in the comments and see what other people have posted. It's a fun hobby and I really do enjoy it, but even if you've got plenty of money, it's still always a good idea to kind of think ahead and plan and not just throw your money down a hole, but still have a good time and enjoy your hobby. 1, 2, 3, folks.